So I've mained Loba for like I think 4 years now, and I figured I should make a guide on how to play her, because at this moment in time, the most up-to-date guide that I could find was from nearly a year ago. It was good, but some things have changed since then, and I figured I was a decent person to make a guide. So anyways, here's the optimal way to play Loba in 2025, especially going into season 26. Let's talk about what she does. So first things first, if you're not familiar with Loba's kit, it's pretty simple. Her tactical is this bracelet that you throw and teleport to wherever it lands, and you get 2 of them. You can hold your Q to keep the bracelet in your hand if you want to, and you can press the Q again while it's in the air to make it fall faster. If it lands in an unplayable space, like out of bounds or off the map, or if it just takes way too long to land because it lands in like some funky geometry or gets stuck or something, then it'll just come back to you in that case. Now, the bracelet is the most important part of her kit. This is an extremely underrated movement tool. It lets you grab height easily, safely, and quickly. It's great for escaping from bad situations, like say you're getting pinched by another team or something, and the perks that upgrade it are also great, but we'll talk about those later on down the road. Her passive lets you see purple, gold, and red loot through the walls, so basically any of the high tier loot, so it makes it really easy to get high tier loot at any POI. And it has almost the same range as her ult, that's going to be more important later. Her ult is the black market, which she can pop down and grab 2 of anything that she wants within that range, which includes banners, by the way, so you can pop her ult near your teammate's death box and grab their banner safely. You can also grab as many small heals and as much ammo as you want. There's no limit on those. The ult does take damage, and it does telegraph your location pretty obviously when you use it. It like lets out like this giant sonar thing that pretty much anybody at the POI will be able to hear and see. So make sure you're using it in a safe location. Probably indoors almost all the time, but you know, sometimes you can get away with throwing it outdoors. And you can also press a button to just close it when you're done. Make sure you close it when you're done, by the way. You don't need to share loot with anybody else in the lobby, right? Just share it with your teammates, and when you and your team are done, just close the thing. Don't let anybody else use it. She's also a support legend, so she gets access to the support bins, she gets the faster revives, she gets health regen for her teammates whenever she reses them, and also, most people forget this, but she gets health regen for herself when somebody else revives her. So like, say Loba gets knocked and Ashe revives her. Well, Ashe isn't a support legend, but Loba's still going to get the full health regen that all the support legends get. A lot of people don't realize that that's how the support perk works, but yeah. And also, because she's a support legend, whenever anyone crafts banners, they'll get a free respawn beacon along with it, so that's also useful too. She doesn't even have to be alive for that to work, so that's good to know. That's how her kit works. Now let's talk about perks, now that we're on the same page as to what she does. So perks, let's get the easiest part of this out of the way and just talk about what perks you're going to choose. So at level 2, you're going to get the Wolf's Claws, which gives you a speed boost when you come out of your bracelet. Also lets you pull your weapon out faster whenever you bracelet. And when you get to level 3, you're going to want Escape Artist, which will heal your shields for 25 anytime that you teleport. That healing gets canceled whenever you take damage, by the way, so just be aware of that. Make sure you're kind of trying to teleport into cover. I know some people are going to ask why we wouldn't choose the other 2 perks, the Shopping Spree and the Brand New Bag. Shopping Spree lets everybody on the team choose an extra item from the black market, and the reason we're not going to choose this is because the black market really doesn't need anything to buff it. Pulling 1 extra item, you know, that might make a difference for the first round or 2. Like, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, but you reach a point pretty quickly where it just doesn't matter. You don't need to be searching for that super high tier loot. You also don't want to be super reliant on high tier loot anyways, so it's best you don't rely on the ult in that fashion. Brand New Bag gives the whole team gold bags, and that sounds sweet, I know. I'm pretty sure you also keep them even if you die and get respawned, but we don't want that as much as we want the healing perk. Gold bag's nice, but think about this. Most of the games that you've won, you didn't need a gold bag for it, did you? So do you really need it that badly when you're playing Loba? And besides, basing our upgrades on loot-based mechanics like the black market and this gold bag means that our game is going to rely more heavily on whatever loot we come across, which is inherently RNG based. So that means we're not in control of how much value we get out of these perks. Whereas a better bracelet is always going to be useful in a fight. So trust me on this, you're gonna want to buff the bracelet any chance you get. And if the perks change in like a year from now, then just whatever the one that buffs the bracelet the most is probably the perk you're gonna choose. Okay, now let's start getting into tips and tricks that you're less likely to know. I'm surprised no one talks about this one anymore, but there's a trick that you can do with Loba's ult to triangulate the location of any loot within range of the ult. All you do is go into Loba's ult, ping whatever you want, exit the ult, ping it again and hold it, and you'll see this little line that pops up there. Do you see that? That's pointing towards where the loot you pinged is. Now, it's like 2D and we're playing a 3D game, of course, so you might have to do this a couple times to figure out exactly where the loot is. But if it's purple tier or higher tier loot, then you can just walk in the general direction and you'll see it through the wall in a second anyways. Like, you don't even have to go very far to see it. So yeah, that's a way that you can find loot with Loba's ult without having to pull it directly from the ult. And speaking of seeing high tier loot through walls, remember earlier when I said that your passive has pretty much the same range as the ult? Well, that means that if you can see high tier loot in your ult, it's probably within range of your passive. So just like walk in a small little circle around the ult and see if you can find it through the walls. This isn't super necessary to do, but like, let's give an example. Let's say that you really needed to grab bats from the ult. You grabbed 4 bats, but you also really wanted a purple light mag that you can see in the ult. So you grab the bats, and then you can just look for the light mag. It's close by. Like, it's not that far away. You know what I mean? I guess you could also just use the last tip too. You could just triangulate it through the ult. So either way, you don't have to grab high tier loot from Loba's ult if you need to get other stuff. There are ways that you can kind of mitigate that and kind of maximize the value you're getting from the ult. This next tip might be a little hard to explain, but I'm going to try and describe the best role that Loba plays on a team. She's what I would call a flex anchor. And what I mean by that is the flexible part is that she can play however you need to on the team. She can play pretty aggressive entry fragging, that kind of thing, whenever it's called for, because she can use the bracelet to get in, deal some damage, use the bracelet to get out. So she can get angles and that sort of thing, but she's a bit better as the anchor kind of character. An anchor player's job is to be sort of the last line of defense for a team. They're the person who's holding angles that intentionally keep their teammates safe. So say you have a teammate that's pushing up and there's a specific angle that you know if an enemy comes that way, they're going to knock your teammate. You're the person that's holding that angle to make sure your teammate can do damage safely. The anchor is making sure teams just don't walk up on you for free. You're the one that's focusing on staying alive. You're watching your team's back. You're making sure that you're aware of other teams that might be rotating in behind you and trying to pinch you. Loba's not the absolute best legend at this. The best one is probably Newcastle because he can create walls and he can easily res and things like that. But Loba's pretty darn good at it because her bracelet lets her cover a pretty large area safely. So like she can cover a pretty large area. If she gets at risk in one space, she can just bracelet out. If she needs to cover a space that's decently far away, she can bracelet in and then cover that area. So she's very flexible because of that bracelet. She's also not the best legend at fragging, like we mentioned, like we were talking about her being an entry fragger earlier. The best legends for that sort of thing would be choices like Ashe and Revenant. Ashe because she can dash in and throw her tactical and things like that. Revenant because he can just take tons of damage. But she's pretty darn good at this because, again, her bracelet makes her really flexible. She's able to teleport in and out as she needs to. What I'm trying to get at here is that in order to be as effective as possible at Loba, you need to have this flexible mindset where you're looking to be the first person in a fight when necessary, but you're leaning a bit more towards the anchor and paying attention to your back and keeping your teammates covered. So stay flexible, keep your head on a swivel. That's probably the best way to play Loba. Tip number 6 should be pretty obvious, but it happens so often, and to be honest, I do it so often that I feel like I have to say it. Don't just throw your bracelet right into a fight where you don't know where everybody is. And in fact, generally speaking, you should be pretty wary of where you're throwing your bracelet. It's kind of comparable to Wraith's Phase, where like on the one hand, Wraith's Phase is great because you can just safely move out whenever you're getting shot at, but on the other hand, there is literally a glowing trail that tells everybody where you're going. Like whenever you throw that bracelet, it's glowing in the air and it's got a little trail and everybody sees that arc, and there's a big flash whenever you teleport to a location. Like everybody knows where you're going. You're not going to get the drop on people with this thing. So when you're using the bracelet, there's a couple different ways that you can approach it. One thing you can do is you can throw the bracelet into cover. So the other team sees you go there. They know where you are. You're not getting the drop on them, but you can be a distraction. You can minimize the damage you're taking and start to deal a bit of damage. And in this way, you can kind of give your teammates an opening to move up and get damage alongside you. Or if the enemy team chooses to shoot your teammates instead of you, then you've just got a free angle to get damage as well. So that's one way that you can think about that you can approach your bracelet. It's also pretty good in the middle of fights. Like if you're already trading damage back and forth between a team and you're trying to find a way to kind of break in. So maybe you use your bracelet to get a bit of an off angle angle while a fight's already started, so that forces the enemy team to either redirect their attention from your teammates towards you and start shooting you, which might give your teammates an opportunity, or they keep shooting your teammates and you start getting some easy damage from an off angle. So those are kind of the ways that you can think about using your bracelet. Most importantly, if you just throw your bracelet somewhere that doesn't have enough cover and you're just kind of banking on getting a one clip, like, you might get somebody, but you're probably not. You're probably just going to make yourself an easy target. You're probably going to go down really quickly. So main point is be mindful of where you throw the bracelet. Speaking of playing cover, Loba's tall, and so sometimes you'll feel like you're safe behind a small box or a small rock when in reality your head's sticking out like right at headshot height. And I can't tell you how often this ends up happening to me, where I think I'm safe and nobody else can see my head and I can't see anybody else. So usually we think, you know, if I can't see them, they can't see me. But some of the hitboxes on some of these legends are kind of large or kind of tall, and I'll often get knocked behind cover because my head was sticking out at just the right height. This is just something to be aware of. Like, most of the time, whatever cover you can play behind is probably fine, but you'll probably notice yourself getting knocked behind rocks that someone shorter like Wraith might be fine around. You know what I mean? Loba's tall. Sometimes some cover is not going to work for you. Just be aware of that. Tip number 8, don't be afraid to just book it and leave. So guys, I solo queue a lot. I actually really enjoy solo queuing. I know a lot of people find it frustrating, but I think it's challenging. I think it's fun. It kind of spices up the gameplay because people will pick all kinds of legends, and sometimes I just want to play alone anyways. But if you're solo queuing, then you know that your teammates aren't always going to be the best, and sometimes they'll take fights that they really shouldn't. They'll die in places they shouldn't. They'll third-party teams poorly. They'll end up getting shot by both teams and going down. And sometimes things just go poorly and you just have to cut your losses and leave. And Loba's pretty good at that. It's hard to catch a Loba after she uses both bracelets. Like, it's really hard. And fun fact, by the way, that bracelet almost has the same range as Ashe's teleport does now that they've nerfed it. I think it's only like 4 meters off at this point. And you have 2 of them. So she goes pretty far. So while you're learning Loba, you'll see a lot of fights that you know in your heart you're not going to win. And when you know you're not going to win, it's best to just start booking it away from that fight. Now, I want to be clear. I can already hear people saying that I'm ratting or that I'm being a bad teammate. I am not saying you should be ratting. I am not saying you should play like a scaredy baby, and I am not saying that you should just leave your teammates high and dry, especially when they're doing well and you can reasonably expect to win the fight. All I'm saying is, personally, as somebody who's gotten pretty decent at this game, I know what a winnable fight looks like. And I think a lot of people watching this know what a winnable fight looks like. And if a fight doesn't look winnable, don't fight it. It doesn't matter what your teammates want to do. It doesn't matter what they say about you. You know what a winnable fight looks like, and if it's not winnable, then don't fight it. Like, we're trying to rank up here. We're not trying to be heroes. Tip number 9 is purely for me. It is to use the ult and passive to loot faster. Do not just use it as a crutch to cover for bad looting habits. Again, this one's for me. It's not for you guys. I suck at looting, and I'm constantly behind my team because, like, I'm being a little loot goblin and I'm searching for everything that I want. I'm trying to get my gun maxed out as soon as possible, which is, like, ridiculous because I should be looting faster than everybody else on the team, right? I should never be the one that's behind. I should always be the one ahead because I can see all the cool loot through the walls. I can grab it with my ult. I'm the first person at the ult because I popped it. So I should never be the one that's behind the team. The solution to this is that before you pop your ult, and maybe even before you get to a POI, ask yourself the question, what do I actually need right now? What are the 2 things that I'm looking for? And as soon as you get in the ult, look for those 2 things. If you get them, great. If you don't, doesn't matter. Get going. Start moving. A lot of people, myself included, have this sort of loot FOMO where they're terrified of missing out on the best loot and they feel like it's going to be the game changer. And very rarely is loot going to be the absolute game changer unless you're just like running out of heals and running out of ammo, for example, which you really don't have to worry about as Loba because we can get as many small meds and we can get as much ammo as we want. Loot's important, but it's usually not going to be as important as a good rotate and sticking together with your team. And being quick to third-party fights, of course, because that's another thing. The longer you spend looting, the less time you're able to third-party fights. And third-party fights are the easiest way to get KP, and they're the easiest way to rank up. I know it feels cheesy sometimes, but I'm trying to get to masters, all right? I don't really care. So the longer you spend looting, the less time you spend fighting. So don't waste time like I do. Decide what you need before you even open the ult and get going. Tip number 10, which I think is the funniest one, is that you can use your ult to round up your randoms. So pretty much anytime Loba ults and her teammates are nearby, it's like a magnet. It's like moths to a flame, dude. Like they'll come straight to the ult to look for whatever they think they need or whatever they want. And it's a great way to manipulate your randoms into sticking together. Just don't tell them that you're doing it to manipulate them. They'll probably be a little bit insulted by that. But yeah, it's a great tool for getting everybody on the same page. That's pretty much it. Loba's not going to be meta anytime soon. Like if you're 3-stacking, I probably wouldn't recommend playing Loba. Like she's good, but there's probably better legends if you're 3-stacking. Legend abilities continue to get stronger and stronger. There's a lot of really powerful legends right now. Loba's probably not going to be meta anytime soon because of that, but she's a very flexible option. And I still think she's the best solo queue legend out there. I still think she's what you should be playing most of the time when you're solo queuing. With her, you can fill whatever role you need to play on a team. Her bracelet's still a really powerful movement tool, and movement and positioning are probably the most important skills in the game besides gunplay, but like obviously your gunplay needs to be good. It's a shooter. Like that it goes without saying. That's like saying you need to be good at running to play soccer, like duh. Movement and positioning are extremely important in this game, and Loba has an easier time moving around a fight than a lot of other legends. I think you're gonna have fun if you're solo queuing with her. So anyways, thanks for watching the guide. I hope this is helpful. Let me know your thoughts on Loba, or if there's anything that I didn't explain as well as you'd like, anything you would want me to go into more detail on. Let me know if there's any tips that you think I missed, and I'll see y'all in the comments.